embark on a mystical journey into Vietnam's Bà Đen Mountain, where the legendary coconut monk and two martial arts masters uncover secrets of a bottomless cave. Discover tales of asceticism, supernatural encounters, and a hidden master wielding ancient powers. From colonial struggles to divine interventions, this gripping saga of survival, mysticism, and redemption will captivate American audiences with its blend of adventure, spirituality, and the enigmatic allure of Vietnam's sacred landscapes. For nearly a month thereafter, Masters Seven and Master Cham took turns visiting close associates they hadn't seen in a long time. First, they sought out the dearest friend, a follower of the Thien Khai Hein Dao branch of the Cao Dai religion. This branch was known for its expertise in receiving divine messages and setting up ritual formations. Their friend was a high-ranking official at Nam Than Tan, that Nam Than Holy Temple. He was a tall man with an exceptionally open and charismatic face. As the two masters entered the temple, they heard a resonant voice reciting divine poetry. Greater than a gem lies ready in the heart. Why seek it outside? Greater than the yellow path revolves. Revealing Cao Dai. Greater than true teachings from above and below are bestowed henceforth. Greater than the imperial legacy of heaven is already laid out. Master Cham couldn't help but exclaim, "Beautiful! The gem is already within the heart. Why search for precious jewels outside oneself? To seek true enlightenment, one must turn inward." This divine poem we just heard from the Jade Emperor seems to urge us to reflect on what to let go of and what to carry forward on the journey ahead. In truth, human life in this transient world, when examined, leaves us with nothing in the end. The ultimate truth of the way is absolute. Yet, strangely, when it's absolute, there's no talk of love or hate. Still, we must recognize that life in this world is a realm of duality. So compassion and charity are merely common practices to discipline the heart. Master Seven also blurted out, "How strange, we haven't even mentioned the purpose of our visit. Yet the head of Nam Than Tan that seems to read our thoughts." From within the temple, another poem echoed, "Greater than observe the fleeting clouds. Greater than now gathering, now dispersing, time and again. Greater than spring comes and goes in this mortal world. Greater than only the enlightened greet it with radiance. Greater than though in this transient realm of dust. Greater than guarding the heart's way ensures an eternal spring." Master Cham whispered, "Why do these divine poems sound like the teachings of the old monk on K Mountain?" As they prepared to approach the temple, a young disciple dressed in white handed him a piece of paper, saying, "My master instructed me to give this to you both, as he is in seclusion and cannot meet you." On the white paper, written in bold Chinese ink with characters that danced like dragons and phoenixes, was a poem. Greater than swiftly passes life through seas of change. Greater than chasing fleeting joys only brings sorrow. Greater than to establish oneself. Avoid the storms of life. Greater than seek the way to find a steady path hereafter. Greater than turn back to the forest of Zen. Walk with ease. Greater than find leisure and joy among ancient pines. Greater than why toil in worldly affairs, entangled in chaos. Greater than wash your ears to hear the music of the five tones. Greater than the lute awaits a guest by the autumn window. Greater than cherish the way's truth. Aspire to noble virtue. Greater than in the sea of suffering. Save others when the time comes. Greater than clinging to worldly titles only buys sorrow. Greater than depart the river of delusion where waves crash against the boat. Greater than filter through karmic debts. Those with fortune find the way. Greater than raise the sails of virtue and merit. Ride the favorable winds. Greater than guide travelers from worldly splendor to avoid paths of trouble. Master Seven sighed. Could it be that this master urges, we abandon our grudges? He glanced at Master Cham, who stared vacantly toward the deep green forest ahead. Silent. After a long pause, the two bid farewell to Nam Than Tan that and stepped back onto the road. The afternoon shadows slowly fell over the forests. Herds of buffalo with jingling bells plodded back to their pens. In the distance, someone burned straw to ward off mosquitoes for the cattle. The scent of smoldering straw stirring nostalgia in the hearts of wanderers. After much searching, They found a small roadside stall still open. They settled in, ordered 2 shots of rice wine and a piece of grilled stingray to sip and nibble. Pondering the next day's tasks, recalling the midday poems, Master Seven began to recite in the mournful Nam I tune. Greater than lost in worldly passions, the heart suffers. Greater than through countless autumns, we tread in error. Greater than straying from the heavenly way. No escape in sight. Greater than human desires blaze, burning the enlightened heart. He clinked his glass with Master Cam's and whispered, "So, what's your plan now?" Master Cam had been sitting silently, knees drawn up, his eyes misty with sorrow. After a long while, he spoke. "Brother Seven, why does my heart ache so? You know the story of Lan and her mother. If I don't seek revenge, how can I face them?" But thinking it over, from the old monk on K Mountain to the head of Nam Than Tan that they all urge us to let go of vengeance. I'm so lost. Brother Seven, Master Seven, deep in thought, put an arm around his suffering old friend and said, "Here's what we'll do. Tomorrow, let's visit the branches of Tan Chu Min, to Tien Chin Zao, Vo Vai Farp, and Iasanta nearby. With decades of friendship, surely they won't refuse us. If they all turn us away, then it must be heaven's will. For now, let's order 2 packs of instant noodles to fill our stomachs for tomorrow's journey." That night, the 2 masters strung up their hammocks on the stall's posts, smoking absently. Neither could sleep, as memories replayed like a slow-moving film. Over a year had passed since the skull vanished. So many events had unfolded, leaving these 2 renowned masters from Tay Nin wandering in exile. Now and then, in the quiet night, the long howls of dogs seemed to foretell an ominous end. Only near dawn did they catch a brief, fitful sleep. In their restless dreams, they saw Lan and her mother, surrounded by ghostly prisoners from the Thien Lin Islands, guarding them as they slept. A new day began. The next day, the 2 masters set off for Long Hoa Market. Passing the octagonal tower by the market, they paused to light incense, honoring a lost child and the heroic battle of the previous year. The sky above Tay Nin remained a vivid blue, with rows of cho trees standing tall like soldiers reaching for the heavens. Long Hoa Market bustled with buyers and sellers, the flow of life seemingly oblivious to the 2 masters. Beyond the market, they headed toward Bà Đen Mountain. From afar, the mountain loomed high, its silhouette etched against the blue sky and mirrored in the equally vibrant waters of Dai Tieng Lake. Hailing a ferry, they crossed to an islet in the lake's center, home to a Tan Chu Min temple led by an old friend of theirs. The Tan Chu Min branch was founded by Ngo Min Chu, the pioneer of the Cao Dai religion and its first great patriarch. Leader of the Dai Dao Tam Kai Fa Du, Great Way of the Third Universal Salvation. Born on the 7th of the first lunar month in the year of Mao Dan, February 28, 1878, in Bin Tai District, Cho Lon Province, he attained enlightenment on the 13th of the third lunar month in the year of Enam Than, April 18, 1932, in Can Tho. At the age of 54, a memorial tower was built by Chu Min followers at the Chu Min Cemetery, about 3 kilometers from Chao Than, Can Tho. Ngo Min Chu married Bui Ti Than and had 9 children, 7 of whom survived, 2 daughters and 5 sons. His parents, poor workers at the Bin Tai factory in Cho Lon, sent him to live with his aunt at age 7 when they moved to Hanoi for work. Raised by his aunt, he studied at Mai Tho School, later earning a scholarship to Chasalup Lao Bat High School in Saigon, where he earned his diploma at 21. He began his career at the Immigration Office on December 31, 1902, later working at the Governor's Office in Saigon. On May 1, 1909, he transferred to Tan An's provincial office and passed the district magistrate exam in 1917. Grieving his mother's death and disillusioned by corrupt colleagues, he requested a transfer to Ha Tien, a remote province near the Cambodian border and the Gulf of Thailand. The serene landscapes of Ha Tien, with its vast skies, waters, and elegant mountains, inspired him to visit Thak Dong Cave to seek spiritual guidance. There, divine beings led him to the mystical path, Later, while serving as district chief in Duong Dong, Phu Quoc, in the Gulf of Thailand, he attained divine insight and received esoteric teachings directly from the Cao Dai Immortal. At the district office, he witnessed the heavenly eye appear twice, radiating brilliant light, which he adopted as the symbol to worship the Supreme Jade Emperor, founding the Cao Dai religion as its first great patriarch to guide humanity back to the Great Father. On the night commemorating the Jade Emperor, the 9th of the first lunar month in the year of Binh Dan, February 21, 1926, Ngo Min Chu requested the Supreme to name his first disciples in a commemorative poem. The Supreme granted 4 lines. Greater than Chu, Kai, Trung guide Hoai's salvation. Greater than the way's foundation is laid. Noble and clear. Greater than virtuous heirs dwell in heaven and earth's realm. Greater than Huon Min Man. Their names forever revered. These 12 bolded words are the names of the first 12 disciples, with the last 3, Huon Min Man, serving as altar attendants. Following the Supreme's command, on the 13th of the 8th lunar month in Binh Dan, June 29, 1926, Le Van Trung, along with 247 disciples, submitted a formal declaration of the religion's founding to the French colonial government through Governor La Folle, delivered to Governor-General Pasquier on October 7, 1926. At this point, Ngo Min Chu, having laid the foundation for universal salvation, stepped back to allow Le Van Trung and others to continue. He retreated into seclusion to perfect his practice and establish the Chu Min Tam Than Vo Vai branch, guiding those with great spiritual roots toward liberation through the new Cao Dai teachings he received in Duong Dong, Phu Quoc, in 1920. The principles of Chu Min Tam Than Vo Vai practice. Disciples of Chu Min Tam Than Vo Vai within the Cao Dai Great Way must follow the teachings of Patriarch Ngo Min Chu, including the 10 pure precepts. 1. Do not accept offerings from the people. 2. Do not involve yourself in national politics. 3. Do not speak of other religions. 4. Do not practice incantations, charms, or deceitful acts. 5. Do not expose others' wrongs or conceal their rights. 6. Do not indulge in base desires. Reflect on and abandon sinful acts. 7. Do not associate with cruel or aggressive people. Remain secluded to cultivate. 8. Do not covet worldly pleasures, fame, or wealth. 9. Do not favor the rich over the poor. 10. Uphold morality, filial piety, loyalty, integrity, chastity, and true compassion. The 10 exhortations. Greater than 1. Restrain your speech, my child. Greater than 2. Discipline yourself to become a true person. Greater than 3. Temper your anger and resentment. Greater than 4. Uphold propriety. Never defy the immortal's authority. Greater than 5. Respect and cherish the virtuous. Greater than 6. Close your eyes to avoid gossip and strife. Greater than 7. Learn the way of compassion. Greater than 8. Practice the way in time for long hoa. Greater than 9. Reflect on matters near and far. Greater than 10. Cultivate a gentle nature to guide the people. Those wishing to join and practice the great way of Chu Min Tam Than Vo Vai must carefully consider whether they can bear the way's demands, as it requires enduring great hardships and joyfully accepting all trials. As Ngo Min Chu taught, greater than, my way is very difficult. To attain mastery, one must pass through life and death, endure countless hardships, and embrace suffering. Consider this. Even to achieve a respectable position in this transient world requires immense effort. How much more to secure a treasured place in the eternal realm of ease and peace? Reflect deeply, assess your strength before making a vow, and I will decide. Greater than my way is hard to grasp but easy to seek. For I guide according to destiny. Those with roots find it easily. Those without fortune struggle to know it. To receive the Chu Min Tam Than Vo Vai teachings, aspirants must observe a vegetarian fast for at least 100 days and be introduced by 2 fellow practitioners at a designated altar. The altar master explains the conditions and recites the holy instructions for self-reflection. If the aspirant feels capable, they request divine approval through casting lots. If approved, they join ceremonies with other practitioners, study the required scriptures, and arrange a proper altar per the branch's regulations. After thorough self-examination and commitment to follow the way until life's end, the aspirant returns to the altar for divine guidance. If accepted by the altar master, they choose an auspicious day, such as the full moon, to cast lots, make a solemn vow, and receive detailed guidance on daily practices, lifestyle, diet, and rest. The guide, acting as the master's representative, instructs diligently, and the aspirant must respect and follow them, as both share responsibility before the divine. As the saying goes, a teacher is not as vital as a virtuous friend. In the Vo-Vi way, with the cow die immortal above and good companions below, success depends on the aspirant's resolve to endure hardships and practice diligently. The way cannot save those who lack dedication. One must liberate oneself. Entering the temple, the two masters were invited to sip tea and discuss the way with the altar master. The delicate scent of lotus tea mingled with the breeze from Dai Tieng Lake and the melodious chirping of birds, creating the ambience of a celestial realm. After a round of tea, the altar master inquired in detail about their situation and intentions. A pensive expression gradually appeared on his kind face, but he offered no opinion after hearing their story. Near noon, a simple vegetarian meal was served, surprisingly with only 2 bowls and 2 pairs of chopsticks. The server, sensing their confusion, explained, "Our master is at the altar. Please help yourselves." The 2 masters ate quickly and had the table cleared. Not until nearly the end of the noon hour did the altar master return to the guest room. He apologized, saying, "I've just come from the altar, where I sought divine guidance and learned that the Great Father does not permit us to assist in this matter. He advises you both to let go of hatred and dedicate yourselves to cultivation for liberation in this lifetime. We also received a divine poem from Lai Hor Bark Immortal for you. Greater than amidst the carefree charm of misty peaks. Greater than the Buddha's summit shines. Inspiring the brush. Greater than cherish merit and virtue. Refine your nature. Greater than perfect your karma to earn a noble name. Greater than seek the source of righteousness and truth. Greater than the mysterious mechanism of fate is near. Greater than together, overcome the trials of adversity. Greater than where waves and blossoms reflect the light of wisdom. Greater than Lai Hor Bark. I hope you understand and heed the immortal's teachings." The 2 masters exchanged glances, then quietly stood to bid farewell to their Tan Chu Min brethren. Soon after, they headed straight for the peak of Bà Đen Mountain. Halfway up, they reached a place called Heaven's Well. Legend holds that since around 1700, monks of the Liu Quan branch, a sect of the Chinese Lam Ti school, settled in the area, establishing temples like Phúc Lam Vinh Sun, now in Tay Ninh City. From Vinh Sun, they ascended the mountain to build Lin Sun Tien Thak, Ba Temple, Hang Temple, Trung Temple, and Trung Hang Temple, Lin Sun II, now demolished. From these efforts emerged a Liu Quan sub-branch called Ti Thung Chan Tong. The Great Way of Truth. The sea of nature clear and pure. The original mind vast and nourishing. The virtue of compassion abundant. Precepts, concentration, wisdom, and blessings. The essence and function perfectly harmonious. Eternally transcending the fruit of wisdom. Secretly aligned with ultimate success. Transmitting and upholding the wondrous truth. Proclaiming the true doctrine. Practice and understanding in harmony. Attaining enlightenment in true emptiness. When it comes to the well of the cave temple or the heavenly well, many people in Tay Ninh still recall the legend of Mr. Coconut Monk. The founder of the coconut religion was Nguyen Thanh Nam. Born in 1909 in Phuc Thin Village, An Hoa District, Truc Giang County, Kien Hoa Province, now Chau Than District, Ben Tre Province. He came from a wealthy family. His father, Nguyen Thanh Truc, served as a district chief from 1940 to 1944. and his mother was Lettie Senator in 1928. He went to France to study in Rouen. In 1935, he graduated as a chemical engineer and returned to Vietnam, coming from a well-off family in Chau Than district and having studied in France. Nguyễn Thành Nam initially ventured into producing soap upon his return. However, unable to compete, he abandoned the business. Later, he retreated to the mountains to practice asceticism, eating only once a day at noon with vegetables and fruits, and drinking coconut water. In 1945, he arrived at An Sun Temple in Bay Nui, Chau Doc, where he sought the path under the guidance of Venerable Thi Hong Toi. Practicing the austere Dutunga discipline, he sat on a stone platform in front of the temple's flagpole for 3 years, maintaining silence day and night, enduring wind and dew, his body reduced to skin and bones. In 1950, he returned to Phuc Than village, where he built a 14-meter-high octagonal platform. Every night, he would climb up to meditate, draped in a simple cloth. Enduring rain and sun, he bathed only once a year. On the Buddha's birthday, a year later, he returned to Ben Tre and built a hut on the tip of Tan Long Islet in 1952. After a few months of activity there, finding it inconvenient, he returned to his hometown in Hamlet I Phuc Than village, Chau Than district. There, he bought a small barge, moored it by the Ba Lai River, and built a high hut in a 1-acre coconut grove, where he practiced silent meditation. Nearby, he constructed houses for his followers to serve him and for visitors to stay. Nguyễn Thành Nam, the chemical engineer, began proclaiming himself the leader of a religion called the coconut religion. Legend has it that he once ventured into the cave. No one knows what he saw there, but from that moment, he maintained perpetual silence. In reality, the well of the cave temple, or heavenly well, located halfway up Ba Mountain, was formed by tectonic activity and underground rivers flowing through it. Legend claims the well is bottomless and connects to the sea. Many have tried to climb down but failed. Standing at the well's mouth, if you drop a handful of paper, the wind will blow it back up instead of letting it fall. Many have thrown stones into the well, but no sound ever echoes back. Only a few, like Master Cam and Master Bay, knew that in a cave, a few dozen meters from the well's mouth, a great master was tirelessly practicing mystical arts day and night. This person could descend the cliffs as lightly as a bird. As for his mystical powers, no one knew their limits, only that many renowned martial artists were his disciples. According to the two masters, only by finding this great master could they exact their revenge. The golden sunlight danced on the massive, solitary boulders, urging the two masters to hurry up the mountain. They reached the mountainside via a winding path through enormous, scattered boulders. There are two paths to the mountain's peak. One is a rugged trail behind Ba Temple, difficult to traverse. The other starts from the Martyrs' Monument, following the power poles straight to the summit. In the past, the path through the Martyrs' Monument did not exist. The Wind Cave, also known as the Fairy Well, is a deep chasm behind the cave temple. In the past, its mouth was wide and gaping, covered with vines and perpetually damp. Later, to prevent danger, it was sealed with cement to narrow the entrance. The two masters approached the cave's mouth and peered down into the pitch-black abyss before them. The silence was profound, broken only by the occasional faint chirping of mountain geckos. Looking up at the clear blue sky, a tiny bird floated in the mountain breeze, tying two large ropes securely to a tree at the cave's entrance. The two masters pursed their lips and began descending slowly. Just a few meters past the entrance, a freezing gust blew up from below, making them shiver. Amid the enveloping darkness, the sound of dripping water mingled with the wind. Like a melancholic symphony, the masters quickly circulated their inner energy, channeling it from the Danshan through the greater heavenly cycle to envelop and protect their bodies. Only now did they understand why so many brave men from the region who attempted to conquer this cave never returned. The cave's toxic mountain miasma was truly formidable. Despite the protection of their inner energy, the cold still seeped into the vital organs. One hand gripping the rope, the other holding a powerful 3-cell flashlight. Master Cam descended first, with Master Bay following the beam of light. Outside, the flashlight was blinding, but inside the cave, its light seemed compressed, illuminating only a few meters ahead. After descending about 30 meters, their heavy breathing became audible. There it is, Master Cam suddenly exclaimed. About 15 meters below, a horizontal tunnel intersected the vertical shaft. Overjoyed, the two masters quickened the descent. Suddenly, a loud rustling sound echoed, and in the dim light, they saw an enormous bat charging at them, followed by a thunderous cacophony like boiling rice. A swarm of gigantic bats, with wingspans stretching meters, surged forward. Thud, thud. Their sharp beaks pierced the masters' flesh like daggers. Paralyzed with fear, the two masters could only cry out to the heavens before letting go of the ropes. Plummeting into the endless darkness of the underworld. In the suffocating blackness, in the nauseating freefall of weightlessness, the two masters could do nothing but silently recite the prayer to Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, Nam Mo Ku Ko Ku Nan Kwan the Ambo Ta, homage to the compassionate Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva who saves from suffering. Time seemed to freeze, thick and viscous, as if death itself was swinging its scythe. Suddenly, from the void, a massive string of stone prayer beads spun beneath their feet. The beads whirled furiously, creating a vortex that gently enveloped the two masters, lifting them like a tornado. A resonant, heroic voice rang out, 18 body seeds, myriad and wondrous, lotus blossoms unfold, marvels upon marvels, turning, turning, the Arhat form spins, heavenly dragons and eightfold guardians protect without end. Ha, 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 ha. Regaining their composure, the masters saw beneath their feet a string of 18 large stone beads, glowing with a phosphorescent green hue. Spinning rapidly, the force of the beads gently carried them into a horizontal cave. Far above, the sky appeared as a faint disk, casting dim light into the cave's depths. As they set foot on the cave floor and assumed a stable stance, they saw before them a strange figure laughing heartily, as if he had never laughed before. Ha 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 ha. The figure was bizarre, emaciated, with shoulder-length hair flowing freely, eyes blazing with radiant light. Bare-chested, he wore only a loincloth made of pounded bark. The glowing green prayer beads now hung across his chest. The beads' light illuminated everything around him. The two masters quickly knelt to pay respects and thank him for saving their lives. But with a gentle wave of his hand, they found themselves unable to kneel, only able to clasp their hands in salute. With his permission, the masters sat on a square green stone slab near where the strange figure sat. As they sat, they leapt up as if pricked by thorns. It was freezing cold. Seeing this, the figure burst into another hearty laugh. Ha 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 ha. Strangely, he laughed as if he had never laughed before. The two masters joined in, and the cave echoed with the thunderous laughter. Ha 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 ha. Laughing until they were breathless, the three finally stopped. Only then did the masters take note of the cave. It was formed by the powerful flow of an underground river. The ceiling was high, perhaps 6 or 7 meters, with wide walls adorned with stalactites glowing with phosphorescent light. The strange figure sat on a square, dark green stone slab, likely as cold as the one the masters had just sat on. Behind him, the cave wall was smooth and covered with intricate, unfamiliar carvings. They were neither Chinese nor Vietnamese script, resembling somewhat the Pali talismanic script but not quite. The only recognizable symbol was the swastika at the start of each section. Noticing their fascination, the strange figure spoke. That's heavenly script. Do you know it? Both masters admitted they did not, prompting another round of hearty laughter that echoed through the cave. Seeing the masters standing awkwardly, the figure said, I saved your lives. By now, you'd be 2 piles of mush at the bottom of that abyss. Today, I'm in high spirits. It's been over 30 years since I last saw a human or spoke their tongue. I grant you a special favor. Quickly pay respects to your master. The two masters exchanged glances and knelt in unison, bowing deeply. We, your disciples, pay respects to our master. A look of satisfaction gleamed in the figure's radiant eyes. Approaching the carved wall, he suddenly uttered a series of strange sounds the masters had never heard before. After about 30 minutes, he turned back and said, "Come pay respects to the patriarch and master." The masters stood before the wall, hands clasped. Miraculously, a surge of energy rose from the ground, permeating their organs. The energy warmed their bodies, causing sweat to pour as if they were bathing. Never had they felt so invigorated and powerful. The energy filled them with indescribable joy. Outside, the sun had likely set, and the cave walls glowed with rainbow-like hues. That evening, the strange figure treated the masters to a peculiar meal, leaves from the cave, white clay stones he dug from a pile in the corner, and a jug of cold water. For the first time eating that clay, the two masters felt it was bizarre. However, seeing the strange figure eat the clay with relish, they decided to try it as well. Surprisingly, the clay, when placed in their mouths, had a faint fragrance and tasted like a piece of traditional Vietnamese rice cake. The leaves served by the strange figure resembled ferns, but when chewed, they released a fragrant, rich, and creamy flavor that filled their mouths. After the meal, the strange figure and the two masters sat and conversed under the green glow of the cave walls. The life story of the strange figure was truly like an enthralling novel. In the past, he was a poor farmer in the Dom Tháp Muoi region, located in the northern part of the Tien River. In Dom Tháp Muoi, one would encounter vast cajuput forests, lotus ponds, water lily marshes, and expansive, pristine egret and bird sanctuaries not found everywhere. His home was in Tram Chim, a cajuput forest teeming with countless bird species. This area, part of Tam Nom district, Dom Tháp province, is influenced by the Mekong Delta's hydrology, receiving water directly from the Mekong River through a network of canals, Hong Ingu Long and Dong Tien, and Hoa, and Phu Heap, flooding the fields annually from August to December. Long ago, his family owned a small bird sanctuary spanning just over 1 acre. The family managed to get by thanks to the resources from the sanctuary. However, a tragic event originated from that very sanctuary. A local official, backed by French colonial power, sought to seize the family's bird sanctuary. Despite his threats and attempts at bribery, the family steadfastly refused to abandon their land. One day, the official arrived at the sanctuary with a group of French soldiers. They presented a document scribbled with French text and stamped with a bright red seal, claiming the sanctuary now belonged to the official and that the family's presence was illegal. The official himself set fire to the family's home. Unable to bear it, the strange figure and his son grabbed machetes and attacked. With the first swing, the official's head was severed from his body. His son charged in, slicing off a French soldier's arm, but was immediately shot dead by the other soldiers' muskets. They bound the strange figure's arms and sent him to Saigon, where he was imprisoned in Chi Hoa prison. At a major trial in Cho Lon, the French authorities sentenced him to death for the murder of a French citizen. He was locked in a death row cell at Chi Hoa prison. The wait for the guillotine was excruciating for someone like him. Every time he heard the clanging of the cell door's lock, he braced himself for execution. Death sentences were typically carried out at dawn, so prisoners like him lived day as night, staying awake through the night, anxiously awaiting the moment soldiers would drag them away. The wait for the guillotine was more terrifying than death itself, draining one's spirit, filling them with anxiety, and making it impossible to eat or sleep peacefully. Nearly 6 months after the death sentence, one morning, the chilling clang of the iron door echoed as 2 colonial guards handcuffed him and led him out of the prison. In a spacious room, he saw 4 other death row inmates sitting on the floor. At a table sat a small Vietnamese man and a curly-haired, big-nosed Frenchman staring at them. They spoke in a language he couldn't understand, and eventually, the Vietnamese man shook hands with the Frenchman and ordered each prisoner to fingerprint a document stamped with a red seal. The prisoners were herded onto a covered truck, which roared to life and sped off. Through a small hole in the truck's wall, he and the other inmates saw they were heading toward Tay Ninh. Hoc Morn, Siu Chi, Trang bang, go die. The familiar places flashed by through the hole. The prisoners were puzzled about the journey. Normally, executions didn't require such a long trip. Chi Hoa to Bin Hung Hoa was only a few kilometers. They couldn't fathom why they were being taken to Tay Ninh. Finally, the truck stopped, and they were pushed out. Looking up, the towering Bà Đen Mountain loomed before them. At this point, the small Vietnamese man turned to the 5 death row inmates and spoke. I am a geologist specializing in cave exploration across Indochina. Today, I've secured a special favor from the French government for you. I need you to join me in exploring the wind cave of Bà Đen Mountain. The task is extremely difficult and dangerous. If we succeed, you will be granted complete freedom and your death sentences will be lifted. If we fail, well, that's fate. Either way, you're facing death. But working for me, your death, if it comes, will serve the Vietnamese nation. Immediately, the heavy wooden yokes were removed. The 5 prisoners stretched their limbs. Breathing in the air of freedom they thought they had lost forever. In the days that followed, they focused all their efforts on preparing to explore the bottomless cave. A wooden pulley with a large rope was set up, connected to a sturdy wicker basket equipped with a battery-powered headlamp. Placed at the cave's mouth, the explorers were armed with daggers and muskets with ample ammunition. On the final day, after all preparations were complete, the geologist hosted a feast at the cave's entrance. The lavish banquet included Napoleon brandy, wild game, and even seafood for the death row inmates. It was the first hearty meal in a long time. Compared to the last meals of condemned prisoners, this was paradise. At the very least, they still had a slim chance of survival and returning to their families. The next morning, the geologist urged everyone to eat well and prepare thoroughly for the descent. Every contingency had been planned the previous day. Now, it all depended on the will of fate. The 5 prisoners were divided into 3 groups. 2 would descend first. 2 would stay at the cave's mouth to operate the pulley. And the last prisoner, along with the geologist, would descend later. The strange figure was fortunate to accompany the geologist on the second descent. After the geologist blessed the first 2 prisoners, they sat in the wicker basket, and the pulley began lowering them. A heavy silence enveloped the scene, broken only by the rapid breathing of the 2 operating the pulley. The battery-powered lamp's light grew fainter with each meter of rope released. 10 meters. 20 meters. 30 meters. The pulley slowly released the rope in eerie silence. 40 meters. Then 50 meters. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream echoed from below, followed by silence. The rope went slack. The geologist urgently ordered the pulley operators to pull the basket up quickly. When the basket reached the surface, it was smeared with blood. The 2 prisoners had vanished without a trace. Shock was evident on the faces of the geologist and the remaining prisoners. A resolute man, the geologist refused to give up. His reputation and honor as a cave-exploring geologist wouldn't allow it. After loading and cocking 2 muskets, he and the strange figure stepped into the wicker basket, and their journey toward death began. The pulley released the rope meter by meter, and the basket sank into the cave's darkness. 40 meters. 50 meters. The geologist signaled to stop. The battery-powered lamp cast a faint, ghostly glow on the damp cave walls. Holding their loaded muskets, they strained to peer into the dim shadows. An eerie silence enveloped them, signaling to continue. The basket resumed its descent into the cold, dark abyss of the underworld. Suddenly, a hissing sound came from both sides of the cave walls, followed by a violent gust of wind. In the dim light, they saw 2 enormous pythons slithering toward them, their tails coiled tightly around protruding rocks. Their massive heads gaping, spitting venom. Strangely, each had a red crest like a rooster's comb. The blood in their veins seemed to freeze, their limbs paralyzed. The geologist's musket fired instinctively. The bullet ricocheted off the cave wall, striking one python's body. Enraged, the python lunged, coiling tightly around the basket. The gunfire snapped the strange figure out of his daze. Gripping his musket, he aimed at the python's gaping mouth as it lunged toward the geologist and fired. A deafening shot rang out, severing the python's head. But in its death throes, the snake tightened its grip on the basket, and its tail whipped the basket with a tremendous blow. The wicker basket tumbled through the air, hurling everything downward. The geologist plummeted head first into the black void, along with the snake's corpse. The strange figure was flung violently toward a horizontal tunnel branching off the main shaft. The impact knocked him unconscious as his head struck the rock above. Hearing the gunfire and feeling the basket go slack, the two remaining prisoners fled down the mountain. Silence returned, as Bà Đen Mountain stood stoically, unmoved by human triumphs and tragedies. When the strange figure awoke, he was surrounded by a gentle green glow. An eerie calm filled the space. Above, stalactites hung from the cave ceiling, glowing like neon lights. The pain from the impact had vanished. Miraculously, after such a violent crash, he expected to be covered in injuries. But upon checking his body, he found not a single bruise. Feeling hungry, he searched the cave for food. Unfortunately, he found only a handful of fern-like leaves, which, when eaten, had a rich, creamy taste, alternating between lying down and sitting. He pondered how to escape the cave. Returning to the main shaft he had fallen through was impossible. The only option was to explore the horizontal tunnel. Idly, he picked up a piece of white clay from the cave wall and chewed it to pass the time. To his surprise, it had a faint fragrance like rice cakes and a rich, pork liver-like flavor. Intrigued, he ate more until he was full. Finding a clear stream flowing through the cave, he drank a few sips. Completing his lavish meal, the discovery of edible clay reassured him as he awaited a chance to escape. Heavenly Spirit cover.